Hey everybody, I'm That One Guy, and I wanted to create a series of videos to go over the Weakauras I've created. The whole purpose of the Weakauras is obviously to help you better understand your spec and hopefully help you play better as a result, but also to gamify the game. Because WoW does present you with some spell alerts for the specs you play, but not all. And so that leaves you looking for ways to identify if a certain buff or debuff is active. And that's where Weakauras can come in play. And I wanted to do more than just have an icon with a timer in it, right? I wanted to try to present you with visual effects that make it feel more like a video game and immerse you more into the spec you're playing. At least that's the idea. So in these videos, I'm going to go over the Weakauras I've created, how I intend for them to work, and show you how you can modify them if you'd like. So whether you've already found my Weakauras, or you're looking for some for a certain spec, or you just want to have a better idea of how Weakauras work in general, hopefully these videos will help you with that. We're going to talk about Discipline Priests, Disc Priests, and again, if you've seen any of my other healer videos, I think I just did Holy Paladin, then you kind of know I set up my healers a little bit differently, again, because I put my party frames right here and my raid frames are also in that same location. And so if I have these below that, I feel like I'm looking too far down at my abilities to be able to see where my feet are. And this way I can kind of see where I am, see what abilities I have off cooldown, and see health of the party and raid members all kind of in the similar area, right? Without having to look too far. So for disc, and again, I do feel a little convicted that I'm not using like pretty little images and icons to indicate things that are up off cooldown, but I kind of feel like when you're healing, the simpler the information, the better. Maybe I'll come back around and create, like actual pretty imagery and pretty icons that kind of more resemble a penance and a shield and radiance and mind blast, just to kind of be more video game-esque. But for now, again, when you're healing, just sometimes simple is better so that you can focus on other people's health bars instead of having to wonder, is that one penance or is that one shield? So let's just go through all the Weakauras. Gonna look like nothing for a second. I'll come back to these two at the top. But this is just like Disc's major CDs. So Evangelism, Pain Suppression, Ultimate Penitence, Barrier, and or Dome. Those that talent node. And it just tracks it right there, right below your feet. That's what these are. Okay, just kind of simple, indicating where it is. If you want to move the whole thing, it would be best to click on Group, click on the whole Disc Major CDs, and Position and Size settings, and then you can just move the whole group up and down wherever you like it. If you want them to be vertical instead of horizontal, then you're going to push this plus icon and get in there and move the individual icons with their X and Y offset until you get them where you want to. You can drag and drop if you don't care about being exact, or drag and drop and then kind of maneuver it to an exact number later. And with that, is like I said, this is sometimes I'm forgetful, and I like to know how much time until Evangelism is up so that I don't cast too many radiance inside that window, so that I can have both of them ready. So that's why there's an evangelism text. If you are smarter than me and you don't need the reminder, then you can delete that. It should start at 40 seconds. So when there's 40 seconds left on evangelism, that text will pop up. All right, just kind of giving you that safe window to know, hey, if you use double radiance inside this window, it's very likely you won't have them back up by the time you have to evangelism, if you're doing that in 40 seconds as for your raid ramp. Then the rotational CDs, again, these are the things I thought, like, what's Disc going to cast a lot of? Obviously, it's your shorter cooldowns, Shield, Penance, Mind Blast, and Radiance. Again, I could probably have gone with like a prettier visual. That's all I can think to say. But again, as you're healing, simpler is better sometimes, so you can focus on other people's health bars. But Shield, Penance, Mind Blast, and Radiance, and what this yellow square going around is the duration of your Shadow Word Pain dot. I am, again, pretty forgetful and forget that's up there. So now I know if I don't see this yellow square at all, I don't have Shadow Word Pain, and I know when it gets to about here-ish that I can probably refresh it, right? As it approaches this last corner, that means it's going to be inside that pandemic window, and I can refresh it if I haven't done so already, or if I don't have the talent from Penance that's refreshing it. I could maybe add another feature that lets you know how many Shadow Word Pains you've spread, like if you're in M+ and are spreading them around to the AoE. But otherwise, it's just letting you know if your target does or does not have Shadow Word Paint. If you don't want either of those things, like if you like everything else that's in the pack that you're going to see, but you don't want, you don't really care to know about these, you track these well enough yourself, you don't want them right near your character, and same goes for these, you can just right click and delete children and group, right? You can see everything that's in there and everything that's going to disappear when you do that, and it's not going to break the rest of the Weakauras. Everything else will work just fine. Okay. For Atonement, what this does is it puts a bar, that bar, on your party and raid frames. I use Cell, and so I'm unsure if it has interactivity with other add-ons. I'm sure it does, or if it works with just the base raid frames and party frames that come from Blizz. But what it'll do is it'll put that bar ticking down, and when there's less than 4 seconds, I think it turns red. I found that to be incredibly helpful in terms of visuals of knowing who does and doesn't have my atonement and how long, rather than trying to see the icon on their character and the timer on the icon on the character. It's just a real quick glance of who has atonement, who doesn't, and how much time is left on it. Power of the Dark Side, right? A lot of times I just recreate stuff that already exists, but again, so I can be in control of its size and location. If you want to change the color of it, right, you can just click on Power of the Dark Side, go to the Display tab, and you can change the color of it to anything you want. If you want, you might want to do Desaturate first, so that it's applying the color on top of a gray or white. Otherwise, it's going to be applying whatever color you're doing on top of that purple. All right. Harsh Discipline. So, video game stuff. You know that when you cast Radiance, and you're talented in Harsh Discipline, you get more bolts for your penance. This is just tracking that for you, visual feedback that yes, you do have that, and it'll show you 1 and 2 charges, right? So when you have your first charge of Harsh Discipline after you cast Radiance once, you will see that. And when you have 2 charges of Harsh Discipline, that's hard to say, it'll look like that. Okay, so again, just more of a video game feedback kind of thing, letting you know you push the button, you have the buff you expect, and then as you use it, it'll go away. And then Twilight Equilibrium. If you play with Twilight Equilibrium, there are a lot of hard words to say in Discipline's talent tree. When it's on the holy side of that buff, right, where your next spell that's going to be buffed as a holy spell, you'll see a golden orb. And when the next spell that will be buffed is a shadow spell, you'll see that purple shadowy orb, right? That's how that works. So if you're talented into Twilight Equilibrium, those will alternate between holy and shadow. Wheel and Woe, okay, pretty simple. Just that little icon with a number in it so that you know it's there. That way if you're tracking it, trying to get up to 8, you can. If you don't really care about getting up to 8, you at least know you have the buff. And if you're trying to use it on your shield or your smite, right, that way you can be a little bit more cognizant of, oh yeah, I have Wheel and Woe, maybe I don't want to smite right now because I want to use it on my shield, or vice versa. And then Shadow Covenant, right? Whenever you're in Shadow Covenant, if you're talented to that, you use your Shadow Fiend or your Mindbender or whichever. It's going to be those on the side, just again, a more video game visual feedback thing, right? When you activate your Mindbender and you're in Shadow Covenant, you will see those shadowy purple things on the side of you. So it just feels a little bit, like I said, more like a video game. And then just Schism and Voidheart, right? Again, sometimes simple is okay. Oh, and I should add, right down there is how long you have left. You can see it right behind there as how long you have left in your Shadow Covenant. And then these will tell you how long you have left on Voidheart if you're in Voidweaver or Schism, right? And that's it for kind of like the base disc stuff. Oracle isn't going to show you some of it. You'll see it. You saw it before, but you'll see it again when I close the Weakauras. That there's icons over here that show you the number for the Oracle charge that you're on, and so you kind of do have to know which one is 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then these are their corresponding buffs on the side, so that after you activate 1, 2, or 3, you'll see the charges or the buffs that go with it. And then this is if you're talented into Waste No Time and you have that active. All right. And then it's just for the priest class abilities. That's where your Shadow Fiend is. I use this dibs for Power Infusion just because you hear a nice empowered. When your focus target, or at least I have it set up to be my focus target, uses their ability that I want to cast PI on them for. Very helpful as a healer instead of trying to look for something that's glowing or pay attention to when they want it or try to remember the exact time of the fight that they wanted it or trying to use it on cooldown. I just listen for that audio cue, and when I hear it, I press my Power Infusion button and I go on my merry way. Angelic Feather, because sometimes I spam it too quickly before the buff has run out and I'm not maximizing my sprint speed. Surge of Light, right? Again, I get to be in control of its location, size, shape, color, stuff like that, and it fits just behind your Power of the Dark Side. Little mana bar and cast bar, right? So that everything you want to know is all right in here, and like I said, I put my party and raid frames right there, and I can still see what I'm doing with my character's feet. So, all of that in action, right? And again, here's the Oracle stuff, right? As well as cooldown tracker for Oracle. All of that in action looks a little like this. All right, for this one, we're just in an Oracle talent. So you'll see Wheel and Woe, but you won't see Twilight Equilibrium, but you will see kind of everything else, right? So you can see when I use my Powered Radiance, right, I have 1 charge of Harsh Discipline. When I use 2 of them, I have 2 charges of Harsh Discipline, so I know that. When I use my Mind Blast, I'll see how much time I have left on my Schism, and that I have Power of the Dark Side, right? And I know how many Wheel and Woe stacks I have, so I know before casting another Penance, I either need to Smite or Shield, right? And then when I use that next Penance, right, I used up my other Harsh Discipline. And same thing, I have my Wheel and Woe stack, so I know to either Smite or Shield to consume that before casting another Penance, because that only goes up to 8 stacks. As for the Oracle stuff on the side here, right, as you use it, right, it goes to the next one. So now I know I'm on the second one, which I know is going to be Piety, but this lets me know how many charges the first one I have, right? Insight is the one that lets you cast 3 spells, and essentially not incur a cooldown, but it's just because it reduces the cooldown by like 9 seconds or so, or 7 to 9 seconds, depending on what you're talented to. For the Oracle Hero talents. All right, and then again, this is in 2 places, just depending on where your eyes go. I feel like you can never have too much information as you're trying to make your decisions on stuff, but I know that I'm on the second one. I'm on Piety. It also tells me here that I've got 1 charge, and it's, you know, a couple seconds till I get to the next one. But when I use it, this is telling me I don't have it. It's off. It's on cooldown. Now it's back up. But it was on cooldown when it's grayed out like that, right? And I can't use it. This is, again, waste no time, letting me know I have an instant cast, Powered Radiance, right? There's your Harsh Discipline. Piety went away. So sad. There's your Wheel and Woe. And again, this is because sometimes I am forgetful. I've gotten a little better about it, but as playing, I forget that I'd just be sitting on the 3rd charge of Oracle and never giving anybody my shield, and then, you know, doing my ramp and trying to activate Clairvoyance, and instead just be activating the big shield. So that's just another visual reminder for myself. But again, you can see when you don't have any charges available for Oracle, it's all desaturated and grayed out like that. But again, now you see you're on the 4th one. You know you can look down here and see you have 1 charge, but that's pretty much it. All this is pretty self-explanatory. When it's on cooldown, it will have a number counting down, and when you don't see any number, that means it is off cooldown. Just to kind of, again, let you keep track of all your stuff. And then, like I was saying with the atonement thing, what I like about it, let me just let it show. Whoops. And dungeons, right? When I have atonement on a person, I just see that little bar, right? There's a little glow that goes around it too, but I'm always just paying attention to this. I have that little bar, and I first started using that for atonement, and I've since implemented it in other healers, and anything that you kind of want to track or make sure you have active on people. You see it turns red when it's about to expire. In raid, right? Smaller bars. That's why the icon is so small, right? Is because it fits just right there in the top right corner. So as you've got 20 to 30 little nameplates down here, it's pretty easy to see who has atonement, who doesn't have atonement, and whose is about to expire and things like that. So just all about like offloading the mental burden to where you're just kind of focusing on what spell you want to use next and who you want to use it on, instead of trying to be like, do they have atonement? How much long is left on that atonement? And then they died, right? So that's the functionality for Oracle and the Weakauras that I have set up for disc, and just like I said, that atonement stuff. It doesn't really change much for Voidweaver, other than you lose these things on the side, and then I can activate the little Shadow Fiends. You can see there's a timer down there, right? I should probably move that a little bit because that's right where your mana and cast bar are, right? So before those weren't there. And you can see I have atonement on me, but now you can just kind of see like that's how long you have left. So I probably will chunk that and put it like right up in here, because before, like I said, the mana bar and cast bar weren't there, so it had its own spot. But I'll make it a little smaller and move it up. So that just, again, there's another kind of visual impact of it. But same thing for Voidweaver. You can see your cooldown of stuff. Oh, and the little dummy went away. But you can see your cooldown of your Radiance and your Mind Blast. And when it's active, let's go to another one. Whoop. When it's active, you can see how much time is left on it, right? So you know that you have your Void Heart, your Schism, and etc. and all that good stuff, right? So you can see all that for yourself. The only thing that would be left to show is, let me change talents real quick so you can see the Twilight Equilibrium thing I set up. It doesn't, at the beginning I feel like people were playing that, but not so much anymore. Now it could be annoying because it is gonna hang out on your screen for as long as you have the buff active, right? As long as the buff is active, you will see that on your screen. Just kind of alternating between the two, right? It's just going to be Shadow for a while because I don't have Shadow spell to cast at the moment. But that'd be it, right? Again, you can see your Shadow Covenant thing. Now I have Shadow spell to cast. Ta-da! You got your Surge of Light procs. Again, it fits nicely inside the Oracle thing there. So that's pretty much it for Disc. And that's Shadow Word Pain. It'll light up when they're under 20%. Just, so again, another thing. It's not a major cooldown, but it's on the same bars because I like symmetry and I didn't want to add another spot for it. Even though I put the feather right there. But that's it for Disc. If you feel like I forgot something, feel like something would be incredibly useful and incredibly important, let me know and I'll add it. If you feel like I could change something or make a little different functionality for some stuff, again, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you found this helpful and I hope you like it. Again, I hope you found that helpful. I do intend to make a Weakura pack for every spec. So if I haven't made one for the spec that you play or that you'd like to see, just comment that down below. Again, I do intend to make one for every spec, but if I see people asking for it or really wanting one, I'll probably get to it quicker than if I just do it on my slow, leisurely pace. I hope it will enhance your gameplay. Like I said, it's all about gamifying the game and making it more fun and more immersive for you, while also helping you improve as a player because the information that you need to react to is hopefully more readily available. If you have any other questions about this Weakura pack that you just watched or any other ones, again, please feel free to comment. I try to be as interactive as possible in my YouTube section. And that's it. I hope you have a great day.